Yo, what's going on, guys, and welcome back. Today we are doing our week 7 Python challenge. So this one is actually really fun. It's going to be how to extract metadata from a bunch of different files. So I'm going to hop into it. Before I do, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that sub button. We're on track for 5K by the end of the year. That's my goal. Let's go ahead and make it happen, all right? Also, if you guys haven't checked out the Discord below, make sure you check it out. We've got about almost 1,000 people in there now, and it's pretty good. It's growing, and we do some live streams and giveaways and stuff like that in there. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So first off, this one was way harder than I thought because the guide I was using, it was a PDF file, and I was using it, and it looked really easy. I was like, oh, this could be a cakewalk, right? And the first two sections were. The third section really took some time, and I'll show you why. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and run it so you guys see what happens. So we run customize. Now here, we're going to give it 2 arguments. You can see we have, if you look at our code, we have these 2 arguments. Parser argument tac E and parser argument tac F. So tac E is what's the file extension, and tac F is what is the file itself. So I have a couple of test files. The one I'm going to put in here is the extension is going to be, we'll say, I actually don't remember which ones are which in here. Give me a sec, I'll get my test files and look at them. All right, so we have a test PDF. So we'll say the extension is PDF and test.pdf. Now you'll see when I hit enter, it's going to run through and it's going to give me all of the metadata for it. Now, what you'll see here is it's giving me just the metadata I asked for, okay? So with the images and the in the actual PDF one, or I'm sorry, with the images and the video, I can specify which fields I want. With the PDF one, it's just going to give us all of it. You can see this is all of it. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. Now, if you guys know this, some files might have a lot of metadata, some might not. So you can tell here what it is. In the test one I used, I just went online and took a random image and converted it into a PDF so that we had a test. And you can see right here, it gave us, hey, the image is conversion plugin. So that means to tell us that we know that was an image that you converted to PDF. So you can get some information from this, is my point. You can see they used Adobe Acrobat 13.0. So you can start to pull some stuff. Here's the date it was created. Boom, 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 stuff like that. So it's really good information. Now, I'm going to show you guys the PDF, the image, and then it can also do videos. So let's go ahead and hop into the code here. And you can see, if you guys look, I've actually started doing this to so this was the whole point of our, I'm not trying to go on a rant, but this is the whole point of our, this whole 10-week coding challenge. I wanted to get better at making proper code, right? One thing I've started doing on my code is I started putting all the dependencies here so that you can install them. Things like that are things I didn't think about before because I didn't really care if other people use my tools. It was just for me. Well, now I'm starting to think that way, and I like it. I think it makes cleaner code. One thing I also have been doing is once I finish my code, I run it through ChatGPT and just say, hey, is there a cleaner way to do this? And it will usually either truncate some of my stuff, shorten it, make it cleaner, and then I get a final product almost, if you will. So I've been doing that, and then I test it, obviously, to make sure, because ChatGPT is wrong a lot, and I'll make sure I don't have to mess with it too much, and then fix it myself. So you can see it's pretty cool. We have the parser here. If you watched all my videos, I think I put the argument parser in every single one, and the reason is it's such a simple way to make a help menu for everybody so that people can, if I put tac H in this, it's going to give me this. The program's called Metadata Extractor. Description is it's designed to pull metadata from multiple types of files, and then the epilogue will be at the bottom. Check out my YouTube. That's what it says. So now we added these 2 arguments, extension and file. Now you notice I didn't make them required here. I can make them required. I probably will make them required eventually, but I want to mess with this a little bit to see what else I can pull, because you can see I specified what I wanted to pull. So I want to dive in and kind of see what is possible to pull, and then we'll go from there. But you can see all we have here is these 2 arguments. So now any variable in this file will be that's called extension will be the extension, and anything called file will be the file that you presented it in the argument. So we have the first one we're defining is the PDF. You can see how easy this is. We just imported Pike PDF, and you can see Pike PDF. All you do is you open it with Pike PDF.open. There's the PDF file, and then you say return doc info. So that's all it is. It's that simple. It returns you the doc info. The document info is the metadata. Perfect. Well, PDFs don't have a ton of metadata, so it's easy to do. We pull it all and it shows it to us. That one's super easy. Now the get image metadata, pretty simple too, but it was a little bit different. So you can see we had to go ahead and say, okay, we want the image underscore file, image equals image.open. So we're going to open the image file. Okay, and then you can see we have info dictionary equals. So we had to specify what do we want from this, right? So we specified we want the file name, and that's the image.file name, and this is getting pulled by the actual metadata. Size, image.size, height, image.height, width, format, mode, animations, frames. Okay, so that came straight from the guide. I want to actually dive in and see what all is possible to pull from there. I know you can pull the author, the stuff like that, and you can see I did that here. I used the EXIF data. If you guys don't know, you've probably heard of EXIF tool. It's a metadata retriever for hacking, but it's also EXIF is the way that digital cameras and video recorders and stuff like that, that's the format that they're going to use. So even EXIF tools are used regularly, not for hacking and stuff like that. So we're using EXIF data here. And it says if EXIF data is none, then we keep going, whatever. But you can see the first thing I do is get the EXIF data from there. Okay, and then I added this portion. This was not in the guide at all. I added this because one of the things I always want from a picture file, is the GPS data. That's usually one of the main reasons I'm doing it, is because I want to see where it was taken. Now, I will go back in here and add, I want to see who the author was. I want to see that type of thing, when it was last edited, all that stuff. I'll go back in here and do that. But I wanted to make sure that I was understanding what I'm doing. And once I fully understood it, I realized, okay, I can go back and add a bunch of stuff. So you can see here, this is if the tag equals GPS info. So if there's a tag, and you can see up here, I actually imported tags and GPS tags. So if there's a tag that's labeled GPS info, give it to me. That's what it's saying. If there's not a tag, don't worry about it. Now, why are we doing that? Because this initially would not let me get the GPS info. And so I did it manually, and it's just going to look for the GPS tag, pull it out. If it finds it, great. If not, it doesn't matter. And then you can see else. If it doesn't, it's going to just do the regular decode of the dictionary tags. So you can see one thing you have to have in here is you have to have the decode of the bytes, because EXIF data is not in the proper format that's human readable. So you have to decode it into human readable. And then the other thing I had to do was here, skip metadata that cannot be decoded. So this was not in the guide either, but I wanted some error validation in a sense. So what it is basically if there's anything else that you're getting, if you're getting any errors, if it's trying to pull certain data and it's not getting it, you're going to get an error. You're not going to get hey, we couldn't find that. It's going to give you errors. So to prevent that, if it's anything else, it's going to try this. It's going to try decode it. If it can't, it's just going to give us, hey, can't be done. It's going to skip it. So that's one thing that's really nice, because I was getting errors, and they weren't it wasn't hey, your program's broken. It's just we can't find this data, or this data doesn't exist. Well, that stops the program. It ends it. So you don't want that. Okay, so then we have the video, and the video was much, much, much harder, because I did it. If you go back and look at the guide I did, it's not even the same. None of the videos the same. I did it a completely separate way, because the way they were doing it wasn't really giving me what I wanted. So we went ahead. First things first, we imported this movie pie editor. So all this does is allows us to get information from movies and things like that. So you can see, and by the way, someone asked me this: how do you learn about these different libraries? Well, once I looked up a library that's good for video, pulling metadata from videos and stuff like that, I just go to the documentation and I look at their examples, and if you've been programming long enough, you can kind of look at an example and go, oh, okay, I can see how to use it now, and then I just troubleshoot as I go. So that's kind of my methodology. It's probably not the best. It's probably not the fastest. You can probably do it a lot faster if you actually went and like got, an example or something, or, had someone actually teaching you. But if you just kind of play with it, you'll figure it out eventually. So we defined get available metadata field. So this is important. This one, this is where I racked my brain for a long time. I couldn't figure out why this was erroring out almost every single time. And what it was with video files for some reason, every time it couldn't find one of these things I asked it for, it instantly failed. It errored out and failed. So like if there was no title, it would just fail. And I'm like, what the heck? Like the other ones aren't doing that. And then I remember that this one's, you have to bypass it. So let me try and bypass it. So what I did was I actually just said, hey, okay, so we're going to say the clip equals the video file clip, which is what we're talking about, the file. And then the metadata is just going to read that clip and get the info off it. Kind of like up here where we said, my dog is chewing that so loud. But kind of like right here where we said pdf.docinfo, where they're opening it and reading it. It's the same thing, clip.reader.info. So it's just taking that clip, reading it, giving us the info, right? Well, this is going to give us the metadata keys, meaning this is going to give us all of the metadata that's available, okay? And then from there, we're going to say, okay, clip equals video clip file. We already did that. Metadata, here's all the metadata we want, okay? And then we already know that it's going to give us some of this stuff's going to be blank, right? You're never going to get all of the metadata. And what I mean by that is like this author might be, nothing's there. No one put anything in there. That's fine. It's okay to get nothing. It just sucks when you get errors. So that's what we're trying to avoid. And then I added this little field in here. I should have added this to to up here too, because this says file name size width. You can add any other desired metadata fields here. So if you know what you want to find, like if you ever looked at metadata for a video, there are hundreds of things you could get. I could get, like the audio bit rate and the video bit rate and blah, blah. I don't really care about all that, so I didn't put all that in here, but there's a ton you can put. So I added in here that you can add any more you want. And these are just titles. And then, so you're just saying, hey, for under license, I want you to put clip.reader.infos.get and anything that matches license. That's pretty much it. So what's that doing? It's reading the clip that we've given it, the video clip, and it's getting the info, and the info is what we want, license, okay? So that's why it's important that we have that. So now when we go down here to the main, this is actually what is being ran, right? So if arguments.extension, so if our TAC-E argument is PDF, then we're going to run the get PDF, and we're going to run it with the file arguments.file. Okay, and then we'll print it out. Pretty simple. Else if it's, not that, if it's JPEG, JPG, or PNG, we're going to say get image metadata, which is right here. We're going to run this one. And then we're going to run that, and we're going to run it with the arguments.file again and print it. Awesome. Now, if it's anything else, okay, the reason I put anything else is because I still want to try to pull metadata if it's not the right format, but I don't want it to basically, I don't want it to just give you an error. So I want to try it. So if it's anything else, we're going to say if the file, we're going to take the file, we're going to take the extension, and you can see here we're taking the file extension and the OS path, which is the file, arguments.file, and we're splitting them. We're saying, okay, here's the argument file, and then here's the extension. We want the extension, and we want it all in lowercase, excuse me. So we're just splitting them, okay? And then if the file extension, meaning if the PDF, JPEG, whatever, is not PDF, JPEG, JPG, or PNG, then what we're going to do is we're going to say metadata equals get media metadata. That's this. So go ahead and get the media metadata. Now, this will error out probably if you if it doesn't work, but you can see we put else print unrecognized file extension. So if it's something that's not recognized, it should print out, hey, unrecognized file extension. And then if it can't read it at all, it's going to say invalid file path. So then there you go. Now you just say, okay, let's run our main one. So now let's go ahead and run it to test it. This one was a little bit tricky. Like I said, there's a lot of troubleshooting because the initial way they wanted me to do the video file was to use a totally different library with Python. They wanted me to use, I can't remember what it is now. Movie Spies with no, that's what we used, Movie Pie. They wanted me to use something else. I don't remember what it was now, but anyway, it was not working the way that I wanted it to. It was only going to work the way they did it, and that's fine, but it wasn't the way I wanted it, so I changed it. So we can go ahead and run this, and you'll see the 3 different ones. So that we already did the test PDF. We also have a test movie, so test.mp4, and we'll go ahead and put mp4 for the type, and we hit run, and the movie is going to take a second longer, or the video, I keep calling it movie, but it's going to take a little bit longer because of the fact that it's pulling from an entire video. And you can see we have the duration of the video, we have the frames per second, we have the frame count, creation date. This one doesn't have one. That's fine. Let's see. So it doesn't have a producer, doesn't have copyright, doesn't have a license, all that stuff. Doesn't have a year. That's fine. It doesn't need all that. The fact that it can pull it is great. This file doesn't have that on there. That's okay. Depending on what's on it is depending on the results, right? So the last thing I want to show you guys is if we go ahead and run it, if we go ahead and run this with our picture, which I got to remember there. Okay, so it's just a JPEG file. So now we say JPG. So this is going to run in a different module. So because of the fact that so that was, sorry, I was getting distracted because I was thinking of something, but what I was trying to think of is that was another reason this took so long, is because the way they had it set up before for themselves, this would only work with JPEG files. I didn't want that. I wanted it to work with all picture files. And you can see I only used these 3. Where was it? I only used JPEG, JPG, and PNG. You can put any picture file format in there and it will work. So we hit OK on this one, and this is the picture file, and you can see we've got the file name is face.jpg, the size, height, width, format, JPEG, image mode, animation, it's not animated, frames in image, and boom. Now you can see what it's giving me is it's giving me these exact things: file name, size, height, blah blah. I can add to this and say give me, image.author or whatever, and it will try and pull that. So that is the really cool thing, is this gives me a lot of options to keep pulling different types of metadata. It also, one thing I would like to set up in it, and I might eventually, is set up auto detect of what the extension is, so you don't have to actually put it in and tell it. But either way, hopefully you guys like it. This is a really cool one. I like pulling metadata. I love it. This is not the best solution to pull metadata. What I mean by that is there's tools out there that can pull it so much faster and auto detect and all that. But this is a fun one to learn, because this is one of the first times I've really dove in on Python and actually manipulating files in that sense. What I mean by that is pulling the data you don't see, the stream data and stuff like that. This is the only time I've ever really messed with Python in this way. And so it definitely taught me a lot, and it taught me that I'm not as good at Python as I thought I was, and that's kind of the whole point of this. I want to learn more. So hopefully you guys like this. Hopefully you guys are learning, following along, and hopefully by the time we're done, we'll have some pretty cool tools that we've designed for each other. So hope you guys have a great day, and thanks.